Hi there. Um, Working on a couple of new pieces that I'd like to share. Basically, I like to share some of my techniques. These are the pieces I'm working on, three of them right now. And I had shown you the beginning of them, where I just lay paint down and I use a trowel and I spread it across. I usually use a couple of different colors when I do these pieces. Start off with, and then I develop them more with more color. But right now, I'm doing a little bit of a different technique with them. I've used this technique over the years in many of my works. I use this little atomizer, a little manual atomizer. You can buy atomizers, and it's like an airbrush, basically. And you can buy canned sprays, and you can use that. But this has been the most effective for me. And what I do is I take these pre-cut shapes and I use the positive and negative. So this will take the negative shape. It'll be all around it. And a piece like this would be the positive shape inside the shape. This is going to be the outside of the shape. So it gives different values and different look to different areas of the painting. So and I actually take a little piece of painter's tape to hold it down because I'm going to be blowing over the piece with the acrylic. This is acrylic ink. For years, I used India inks, and the problem with India inks is that they fade. They're subjected to if they're subjected to light, natural light, they'll fade. That can be avoided if you put it behind our um, museum glass, what they call museum glass, which filters out the light, the light rays. So basically, you can see that shape, and then when I pull it away, negative space around it. And I love this texture that you get with the spray, this very light spray. And that's one technique that I use. And again, I could use the positive, which I've done here. There's a square here where I've gone in. And basically when I do that, I take acrylic paint and I use one of the little rubber sponges to fill in the space. I still like to get some areas of color coming through. And of course, the texture comes through. I'm going to put that aside and I'm going to put this aside. Moment. And this is another piece that I'm working on. And part of what I do with these pieces, you can see I'm using all different shapes, basically circles, triangles, and squares. And I repeat those in different areas of the piece. And then I go in and I fill in with acrylic pens. You can see that the light's probably shining on acrylic pens. So I will take either a T-square or a ruler. This ruler I've had for years, and what I love about this has a metal edge. So when I take a pen, that metal edge prevents paint from getting underneath it, and it gives me a clean line. And it really just takes me time to decide where I want to place a line, what direction, the thickness. I can do this 2 or 3 times to make a thicker line if I want. Now this is basically green and gold and white. And I'm using a lighter acrylic pen to give more dimension to the piece. I'll also use a gold pen, and I'll also take gold spray paint like I did. When I say spray paint, I mean the inks. And I will spray certain triangles, squares, whatever I feel like doing on here, either the positive or the negative. And that'll also give it sort of a glow, and that spray, that very fine mist, that spray, which I like the texture. I like the finish that gives to the piece. So those are some of the smaller pieces that I'm working on. This is another one which I haven't done any of the stenciling on yet. I've done some freehand brush strokes in here, which I've done on two of these pieces. I love this. I love these colors. And these are some of the stencils that I've used over the years. This is sort of like a grate that I've used in certain areas of this. Big circle for large pieces that I've worked on. I don't have any of those large pieces here. This is sort of a Greek key that I worked with on a piece that's over there. One of the new pieces, a gallery show. And I have a stack of them. And I just make shapes that I think are going to be interesting. Things like this, like this amoeba shape, or these little amoeba shaped pieces, positive to negative. So I like making my own stencils. Over time, I've gotten a collection of them. I've also been watching quite a bit of YouTube and watching documentaries on different artists, listening to different gallery owners. And I've studied art history, but we're actually just studying the work of the people. You don't study the lives of the artists. They did a documentary on Kandinsky that I absolutely loved. I relate to Kandinsky. I relate to his abstract paintings. He started out as a landscape painter, and he eventually sort of whittled down the landscapes to the basic shapes, and that's how he got into abstract painting. I've never really I've done one or two landscapes in my life. It's not a thing that I'm interested in, although sometimes I think I might have the reverse career of a Kandinsky. I may go from abstract to landscape. Who knows? But that would be interesting. What else have I watched? Kooning. Robert Rauschenberg, very interesting person. I love his work also, and he was very inventive. He did a lot of different things. He would take found objects and put them together and make a statement with them. He also had a studio in Captiva Island down in Florida, which I've been past. Beautiful studio out over the water, built out over the water. Someday. So that's some of the smaller pieces that I'm working on, and I just want to kind of update on this larger piece. I've started to fill in a lot more of the colors. I basically decided to keep a lot of the gray. It was a primer, but I love the color combination. I will take a regular paint, not just leave the primer, although you could. But I'll take a regular gray paint that'll be slightly lighter than this. And I still have to fill in some of the golder golder areas and a few more of these reddish areas in this sort of orangey area. But it's coming along, and I'm liking the way it's coming out. So that's what I'm working on today. I have to be leaving for New Jersey over the weekend for a week or so for business and taking time with family, which is a good thing because when I come back, I have a different perspective on what I'm working on. And I'm looking forward to starting doing my three-dimensional pieces. I haven't been working on those for a while. I'll give you an example of one of those three-dimensional pieces. It's plywood covered with foam and then covered with canvas, and then I take these shapes and I put them together, leave positive and negative spaces. This is one of my favorites, actually. I love this piece. They're sort of like children. You have your favorites. I guess I shouldn't tell you. This is another piece done that way. So I'm going to start on doing some more of these. They're a little bit more strenuous to do. Obviously, I'm cutting wood, I'm sanding wood, I'm cutting canvas and stapling the canvas, and then painting, and then putting the pieces together if there are multiple pieces. Deciding on how I want to paint them. There's another piece like that. I love the texture on this one, it's shiny. I don't very often put a varnish on things, but sometimes it's necessary to bring out the colors. That piece needed something to bring out the color. So that's where I am today. And hopefully next time you see some of these pieces, they'll be completed and finished. Try to, my artist friends, try to check out those YouTube Kandinsky video and the video. They're really interesting. It's also a very interesting documentary on a woman. She was a long haul truck driver, bought a painting from a flea shop or wherever. And somebody came to her and said, I think you have a Jackson Pollock here. She has spent, I think it's well over a decade now, trying to prove that it's a Jackson Pollock. The art world doesn't want to accept it, but the forensic world, forensic scientists are looking at it and they're actually finding Jackson Pollock's fingerprints painting. So it'll be interesting if it is a Jackson Pollock. It could be worth $150 million. She paid, I think, $5 for it. So you hear those stories of somebody finding a rare jewel or a rare painting. Yes, it can happen. Anyway, I'm going to get back to work, and I will see you guys later. Thanks for stopping by.